From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons at LALATE with incredible, great updates about your fourth stimulus check of 2021. Direct from Santa Monica, California. In this update, passed. $3.5 trillion recon budget bill passes of the House of Representatives subcommittee. And I'll go over what the president said on Friday. An incredible win for the progressives as he says, we're stopping the vote on the roads and bridges. The progressives are not going to support it. You need to come on board with the recon, the moderates, and we're going to stop the roads and bridges for now. I have all the incredible details. As another win for the progressives, they stopped the vote on the roads and bridges on Thursday. They stopped the roads and bridges vote on Friday. And now the president's saying he's stopping all voting on the roads and bridges indefinitely until the moderate Democrats come on board for your roads and bridges. Incredible great news in this recording. We'll go over all the clusters of checks 1, 2, and 3 passed in this incredible $3.5 trillion recon. We'll be going over the big exciting details. And an additional $13 billion is landing in cities, counties, and states for rent and utilities. It's there right now. The nonprofits paying for free refrigerators for viewers across the channel. And then the big exciting details as more Democratic progressives from both the House and the Senate say they're inserting a monthly IRS stimulus check in that recon. They say it before the passage of the recon last weekend, after the passage of the weekend, and going into the weekend this weekend as well. It's all incredible great news as the progressives continue to win, and you're winning, and this is Afternoons LALATE. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful weekend. Thank you for joining me. I told you there's going to be a lot of dramatics this weekend, and there is. The dramatics unfolded across the board with the president saying to the moderates, all voting on the roads and bridges is now off. You need to come on board with the recon because otherwise I am not calling any vote. And he instructed Pelosi to stop voting immediately, indefinitely, for the roads and bridges. This is a huge one. Even as AOC said, let's start the voting on the recon. In this recording, we'll go over the past recon in the House subcommittee for budgeting. $3.5 trillion of checks. We'll go over cluster number 1 that got in there, checks for seniors, workers. Then cluster number 2, checks for college students, home repairs, and bikes and cars. Checks for everyone, including SSI and SSDI. Checks for medicine and checks for seniors, and also the exciting details of other checks across the board. We'll be turning to that $13 billion going out to your cities, counties, states for rent. And then the big exciting details as the progressives have win after win this week. First, blocking the vote for the roads and bridges on Thursday. Second, blocking the vote for the roads and bridges on Friday. And then finally, getting the president to tell the moderates, you ain't getting a vote ever for the roads and bridges unless you come on board for the recon. Wow. I have all the direct quotes from the president off the record. It's incredible afternoon, and it starts right now, so subscribe. This is LALATE, America's only 24-hour day, 7 days a week financial news channel in America. Subscribe right now. 400,000 subscribers in 1 year, a YouTube record. Next up, 1 million. On a Saturday, a week ago today, the House Subcommittee for Budgeting passed your $3.5 trillion recon. No broadcast media covered the subject matter. No print media ever covered it occurring. YouTube channels went silent. And yet, throughout this week, every day on the hour, the news cycle changed. And that's why I have been delivering you breaking details on the hour by the hour. It's going to continue this weekend, so stay with me. Coming up next is Evenings LA, which will be potentially totally different than this broadcast as well. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Let's cut right to the details, starting right now. A week ago today, the House Budget Subcommittee passed your $3.5 trillion recon. All the 3 clusters of checks covered on this channel passed. 1 cluster passed, 2nd cluster passed, and 3rd cluster passed. I'm going to go over all those three clusters pass. Then we'll be going to the IRS monthly stimulus check that the progressives told viewers, 1,000 viewers, before the passage that they're putting it in there afterwards, and that they said this week as well. Then we'll be going to the dramatics of what's going on with the president and the halting of the roads and bridges. Wow, deliciousness. Then we'll be cutting to third stimulus, and also a little bit about fifth stimulus. So let's get ready to rock and roll with the first cluster passed. The recon, it's important to remember, is not pandemic related, and it's checks for every walk of life. Cluster number one, let's go over passed. Hazard pay in there. Checks for seniors, checks for children. $51,000 of MSC, monthly stimulus checks. Checks for college students, home repairs, bikes, cars, and trucks. Let's go over all the incredible details starting right now. First, they got hazard pay in there. This is huge, expanding the earned income tax credit, an old tax code, so that more essential workers qualify for it, and doing it lifetime with a bigger yearly payment. This is big. After this channel was the biggest advocacy place on the planet for hazard pay, with no less than 300 videos every day on the day for over a year. Then they got up to $4,000 a year to care for an elderly person at home. This is huge. And then up to $4,000 a year to care for a young child. They got money in there for home repairs. Yes, if you live in a low-income community, they give you free money to repair your home. Then they got in there money for college students, grants directly to the student or to the university, or the Pell's grant made tax-free. The exciting details continue with MSC's $51,000 of them getting in there. Wow, this is a big one. This is the CTC, the child tax credit made a lifetime, and broadening the eligibility so non-biological parents qualify for this money as well. How much is it? It's a lot, up to $51,000 per child. How does it calculate? $300 a month approximately every month that the family is low income, every year up to 18 years, which is $51,000 a child. Then they got money in there for bikes, cars, and trucks. All electric, all U.S. auto manufacturers. First, up to 15% for the purchase price of a new electric bike. Then, $7,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle, personal use. Then, if it's for business use, a little bit more. And then a truck, if it's for business use, a little bit more. Wow. In a second, we're going to go over the second cluster checks got in there, passed. Third cluster checks in there, passed. And then the IRS monthly stimulus checks, those delicious checks, 1,000 viewers have been told are included in there and being told this week, including by Chuck Schumer. That's coming up in just a second. But let's take a detour for just a second for third stimulus. Third stimulus got an additional cash infusion about a week and a half ago of $13 billion for Treasury. This is a big one. So this is additional money for rent, utilities, and mortgage assistance. Treasury is happy to provide the state and local governments with these additional resources to support Americans in time of rental assistance. Huge. I'm going to go over more about these incredible checks in just a second. But let's cut to the third cluster of checks. Wow, these are deliciousness. And the second cluster of checks. Cluster number two's checks got in there, and boy, are they great. They're great because they pay a lot of money. How much do they pay? They pay an incredible amount of money, starting with paid family leave and paid medical leave. Up to $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. Split it in half. If you make $35,000 a year, $800 a week. Split in half. If you make $15,000 a year, $400 a week. This is paid family leave. You have to stay home because your wife is pregnant. Medical leave. You have to stay home because your child broke his leg. They got no less than 11 other checks in there. What are those other checks in cluster number two? Passed. Child care programs passed. Household tax credits passed. Medicare benefits checks like dental, vision, hearing. Then checks for pre-kindergarten. And then they got checks in there to weatherize your home. Definitely needed if the moderate Democrats are on your roof. Remember, do not let the moderate Democrats in the House. Kick them out of the House. Then they got free community college. Definitely needed. A lot of people are taking that very popular class now. Now, it's called What the World is LATE Saying? 101. It's for people who say I just talk really strange. Well, you can be bilingual in the foreign language called Los Angeles. Yes, they speak a different dialect out there. I don't know what it sounds like. But now you can take free community college and get that class. Wow. In a second, we'll go over the third cluster checks passed and those IRS checks passed. But what's Congress doing? What is Congress doing? Well, broadly, what happened was on Thursday, Nancy Pelosi had set up a vote to called for the roads and bridges. That vote to called for the roads and bridges was because Pelosi was basically sort of ambushed 2 months earlier by the moderate Democrats in the House, the Goth Gang, demanding a vote on the roads and bridges or else. So she said, fine, I'll give you a date. And she gave them that Thursday. Well, with the moderate Democrats going into that Thursday date, they said, we're going to block it. They had meetings throughout the day, as covered live on this channel, by the hour, on the hour. And ultimately, the moderate Democrats were ready and poised to block the infrastructure, roads and bridges, from ever passing. Pelosi has a 3 Democratic lead in the House, and there's 60 Democrats ready to vote it down. It did not go for a vote. Then on Friday, it was set to go for a vote again, the roads and bridges, and the moderate, and I told you, there was really no change of the dynamic. The progressives were going to block it again. So what happened? The president called progressives and moderates into a meeting. He first had a meeting with House Democrats and then had a meeting with Senate Democrats. And his message was loud and clear. Number one, I don't care what Pelosi's agreement was with the moderate Democrats about voting on the roads and bridges in the House of Representatives. I'm the president. There's no vote. Oh, boy, yes. So first the progressives win by blocking the vote on the roads and bridges once, twice, Thursday, Friday. Then the president late Friday saying, I don't care what Pelosi's agreement is. I'm breaking the agreement. There will be no vote on the roads and bridges. Number two, he said there will be no vote on the roads and bridges until the moderate Democrats, like the Goth Gang, agree to the recon. Yes, this is huge. Suddenly he put the recon first and said, listen here, I made an agreement. This is how we're going to do it, and this is how we're staying with it. Basically going back to his promise that it's a 2-bill legislation. They have to be passed at the same time. You're not going to try to undo one to help another one get over the finish line. Great news. But I'll go more over what he said during that meeting and my impression of what he needs to do going forward and what he could be doing this weekend. It's coming up later in this video, but let's cut to the third cluster of checks, and they are deliciousness. There's checks in there that include instant payments to you, because that is what we love. We have checks for free school meals for all checks. Then we have tax break checks, cheaper prescription medication checks, checks for farmers, checks for free internet. We have checks for clean energy. We have checks for workers and checks for seniors, like dental checks, vision checks, hearing checks, lowering the eligibility age for Medicare. 2 of the checks on the third class that the president particularly loves, I love as well, because they are instant savings to you. The first check is cheaper prescription medication. Let's say you have a very bad migraine headache because you've been listening to the moderate Democrats. You go to the pharmacy, you say, pharmacist, do you have something for moderate Democrats? Yeah, I do. Midterm elections. No, I mean a prescription. I mean a prescription. Yeah, it's $40. Okay, so you take 2 $20 bills out of your wallet. Yeah, the pharmacist has these jokes today. I don't know where he came from. You take 2 $20 bills out of your wallet. And then they pass this law. Then a week later, when you go back to refill the prescription, hopefully the moderate Democrats are gone, but you unfortunately have that headache again. So you may only have to take out one $20 bill for your wallet, keeping the other $20 bill in your wallet. Then they're going to give a free internet. Oh, boy. Great news. Red, blue states and poor and rich states will all get it. They're going to give fortunes to cities, counties, and states so that they can offer free internet to you. And all you have to do is say, what's the Wi-Fi name and what's the username and password? The username is Goth Gang Go Away. And the password is DC Reese. Anne's going to love that. There you go. Coming up later in this video, we'll be going over the dramatics of what the president said during that meeting. And I'm going to go over what he did and didn't say during the meeting, because I fully expect next week people are going to misinterpret what that was said during the meeting. I'm going to give you my impressions of what he said in the meeting, and I'm going to go over what's anticipated for this weekend. But first, let's turn to that IRS monthly stimulus check. Wow. It's been an incredible, great week for us, because why? We have the passage of the recon on the House, and going into the passage, over 1,000 viewers of this channel were told by nearly a dozen Democratic Senate and House members that they're inserting a monthly stimulus check provision in there. After the passage, those same Democrats repeated the assurances, reassuring of viewers as well, again, after viewers advocated. Remember, Donnie, you can see him later in this video, his wife picked up the phone and called Chuck Schumer's office about Thursday. And Schumer's office confirming yet again the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check, IRS, in this recon. Last Monday, Bernie Sanders' office confirming again. And throughout this week, AOC Omar and Jalapal's office confirming inclusion as well as again. It's an incredible, great day. I have more about this coming up. I have a lot of breaking news about that meeting with the president on Friday. You're going to be surprised. And then I'll give you my impression of the situation. It's very interesting. And I'm going to break down numbers because you know how we do it on this channel. We do numbers because ultimately, numbers will count. I have all those breaking details you're going to hear for the first time ever on Afternoons LA coming up after this commercial break. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds on those developing details, more about third stimulus, more about fifth stimulus, and also what to anticipate this weekend and on Monday. I'll see you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now, direct from Santa Monica on a beautiful weekend. I hope you're having beautiful weather. I'll have the latest details of what happened yesterday on the congressional floor as the president met with both sides of his legislators. A lot of dramatics, and I'll go over what was said and what needs to be said as well. We'll be cutting back to those IRS monthly stimulus checks and why it's getting even better than it was a week ago. We'll be turning over to third stimulus briefly, a little bit about this stimulus, and then my messaging as well as we go in and close in on those midterm elections. Yes, seats for stimulus. Get ready, baby. I have all those incredible details, and it starts right now. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. Boy, this was some week in which the news cycle changed on the hour by the hour. Well, it ain't over yet, baby. This weekend, expect the news cycle to change because a lot of the details that we didn't know of what happened on Thursday and Friday is still coming out, and it's coming out every few hours. Moreover, this Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, it's going to be absolutely on fire. So subscribe. I don't want you to miss a single video across the board. Like the video and consider becoming a member. Coming up next is Overnight's Crypto and Evenings LA, which will be brand new tonight as well at 5 o'clock. Let's go over the dramatics of what unfolded Friday. Here's what you need to know, is that there was a series of bizarre events that led up into the events of Friday. On Friday, the President of the United States called in a special closed meeting among House Democrats first, and then Senate Democrats second. Let me go over the dramatics that went into the hours before those meetings. Throughout this week, the president had been meeting with moderate Democrats in his offices in the White House, asking, what do you think about the recon? I'm sorry, I can't hear from you. I can't hear you. Can you talk up? And not hearing back from them. On the same side, the moderate Democrats breaking a promise to Nancy Pelosi about the debt ceiling limit, even as the debt ceiling limit was getting done, pissing off Nancy Pelosi. Moderate Democrats not keeping a promise to do the recon and the roads and bridges at the same time, pissing off Liz Warren, saying, we have a promise about that 2 months ago. Why do you not keep your promise? Moderate Democrats going on a war of words, calling the Progressive Caucus or a wing of the Democratic Party small, fringe, not following the president's advice. Really a lot of name calling. And it ramped up with, of course, perhaps the most horrific of the events was Joe Manchin releasing a document claiming that Chuck Schumer had agreed to a different recon that's actually now law. Chuck Schumer issuing a press release, which I don't think I've ever seen before, saying, how dare you call me a liar? So it was really a lot of moderate Democrats really trash-talking progressives. Thursday came the potential vote on the roads and bridges. The result of the Goth gang, Gothenheimer, House Democrat, moderate, who had gotten an agreement with Pelosi to call the roads and bridges in that day on Thursday, saying that there was a deadline looming for the surface infrastructure. There was no such deadline. It was a faux deadline, and we now confirm that it was a faux deadline. But Pelosi agreeing to it because she was being pushed on it 2 months ago. Going into the final hours, the moderate Democrats said, you know what? The progressive Democrats said, you know what? You only can lose 3 Democrats. You can lose 60 because the progressives are ready to vote it down. Having caucus meetings minutes before the vote was about to happen, assuring themselves that they may not only have 60 votes to vote it down, maybe 100, because moderate Democrats published another article trash-talking the progressives. Really? So eventually, the vote didn't happen at 9 o'clock. Then, at 9:30, Bernie Sanders was hustled into a meeting called by the White House with the following in attendance: Brian Deese, yeah, that guy again, Kristen Sinema, the moderate Democrat, Bernie Sanders, who got you the $3.5 trillion price tag, and Chuck Schumer. Now, let's understand, let's recall that in the month of July, the Democrats were presented the options of how to do a recon. And at that time, Bernie Sanders went into several meetings with Senate Democrats, including Kristen Sinema, to agree upon a price. He entered asking for $7 trillion. He emerged victorious with $3.5 trillion, with every Senate Democrat agreeing to do a recon of $3.5 trillion, including Kristen Sinema. And then the Senate passed the recon procedural of $3.5 trillion. Why did the president send over Brian Deese? To tell Bernie Sanders to tell the progressives to vote in favor of the roads and bridges, and to somehow change his position for the last 2 months at 10:30 at night in a room, at the 11th hour. Bernie Sanders walked out after 10 minutes, not referring to the president, but certainly the implication was that it was about the president. I don't do business this way. This is absurd, was what Bernie Sanders said. Absolutely. Imagine telling a 70-year-old at 10 o'clock at night to somehow chop away at a $3.5 trillion item and agree to something with a bunch of moderate Democrats who had not kept their promises in the last 2 weeks. He said no. Eventually, Jalopal said the same. And Jalopal said to the Progressive Caucus, and they agreed, that we're not moving off anything for the recon unless we have a past recon, because the moderate Democrats have not kept their promise. Throughout the entire week, the progressives were keeping it professional, keeping it respectful, keeping it on point, while the moderate Democrats kept on name-calling. Finally, the vote was not called on a Thursday. Friday, Steny Hoyer suggested as the majority leader in the House that the vote would happen on the roads and bridges on Friday, but it didn't. In fact, the House never came back into session. Steny Hoyer never called it back into session. Instead, the president said, come on over. I'm speaking to the House Democrats first and the Senate Democrats next. What did the president say? Number one, he said that while Pelosi had made an agreement with the moderate Democrats to vote on the roads and bridges this week, there won't be a vote on the roads and bridges this week, and there may never be a vote on the roads and bridges at all until the moderate Democrats agree to the recon. What a win. First, the progressives block the roads and bridges. The big victory I told you, which be the one that we wanted. All this week I told you, it doesn't matter if the roads and bridges passes, but if the roads and bridges goes down in flames, it's a big win for our recon and a big win for the progressives. Well, they won there. And then the president telling the moderates, you ain't getting any vote on your roads and bridges until you agree to the progressives recon. Yes. Incredible, great news. Then the president also saying that the issue at hand is that people need to agree to certain things. And he said the following: it doesn't matter whether it's 6 months, 6 days, or 6 weeks. We're going to get it done, Biden told reporters. Then, as to the members of Congress in attendance, this is what Biden said: I wrote the damn bill. Even a small bill can make historic investments in childcare, daycare, clean energy. You get a hell of a lot of things done. We can be consequential and build upon the bill, not pull back from it. I know a little bit about legislative process. I don't recall before on fundamental issues that we don't have to make compromises. He said that the progressives will continue to block the roads and bridges, and it will never be called for a vote. And so he is not going to call the roads and bridges for a vote until the progressives get what they want. Yes. And then he said the progressives are not, then he says we need to get the moderates on board. What was the reaction to the situation? The reaction to the situation was mixed. Certainly the moderates were very upset because they got nothing out of this week. Moderates got trashed by the president, got trashed by Pelosi, got trashed by the progressives. Moderates got really nothing. But the reaction was that the comments by the president were sort of vague. They weren't particularly clear. One reaction by Henry Cooler Swalar, Democrat of Texas, was he was trying to get both sides to understand what the reality is. But right now, I think they're upset on both sides. I think that people do appreciate that he's trying to get it together, but it did not work. Then Adam Green said that this was a great week for progressives. Progressives were Biden's best friend this week for keeping the ceiling high. The standard is going to be less as the president pushes on different regards. Now, did the president not approach the situation correctly? Bell Telchin, who's a Democrat pollster who worked for Bernie Sanders, said that Obama would have done it differently. Obama would have gone after you. He says Biden's doing a little bit too soft. I was hoping that he would have learned the lessons from Obama, which is you have to fight for these things. You can't just negotiate with Christian Sinema. You got to go to war. That's what it is. You have to travel to their home states and deliver a message to the residents. You will all support this, and your 2 senators should do it too. What's my thought of the situation? Number one, the president absolutely understood that he had made a promise to both sides. 2 bodies of legislation at the same time, not one body of legislation and the other one falling by the wayside. Number 2, he understood that one group, the moderate Democrats, were trying to misuse the whole process. He had said both of them at the same time on my desk, voting at the same time, and suddenly the moderate Democrats were trying to say, you know what, forget about the recon, maybe, just do the roads and bridges. He was not having that. Now, what he also said is that perhaps the progressives may have to change something in that budget bill. Now, let's go over the numbers of the situation right now. It is very hard on camera to explain what $3.5 trillion of a budget bill is because of certain things. Number one, when you look at something where I say, here's a check for you for $1, you may think, okay, it costs the federal government $1 to give you that $1. But it's not exactly 1-to-1. And first, the $3.5 trillion recon budget bill did not include the stimulus IRS checks in there. So that wasn't part of the $3.5 trillion. Number 2, the $3.5 trillion is not an exact calculation. And the president has been sort of trying to explain this to the American people. I'll try my best to explain it to you. For example, when I say 15% off a new bike, they're not writing you a check for 15% off the new bike. It's not coming out of Treasury's office directly to you for that new bike. And so it's not directly a cost to the federal government. So would the 15% for the bike be part of the $3.5 trillion price tag? No, it doesn't. It didn't cost $10 to do the 15% of the bike. So people may say, oh, I heard the president talking about certain things. Understand the following, that It's not directly apples to apples. And that the way Bernie Sanders was able to find happiness with 3.5 trillion when he asked for 7 trillion was that he was able to modify the number of years that things ran. And modifying the years that things ran does not mean you're taking things out. So number one, here's what you need to know, is that if you hear someone say, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get something because the president maybe wants to move the number off of 3.5 trillion. 3.5 trillion is a very, very complex number. So that's absolutely not the case. Number two, the entire recon is not paid generally out of Treasury's money. In fact, the vast majority of the money for the recon is paid for by taxing billionaires. It's a tax-paid program. So if you think that they're going to spend less money of the federal government, they were never going to spend money for the federal government, generally for the recon. They were spending the money by taxing people. That's why the president says, I'm paying for the recon by taxes. Third, modification, what the president's talking is great, because modification means, for example, that 15% for a new electric bike, we can do it at 15% for a new electric bike for 5 years instead of 15% for electric bike for 10 years. So people may say, oh, he wants to cut things, then it's only going to be 10% for a bike or 3% for a bike. No, he can modify the duration. And that's what Bernie Sanders talked extensively about earlier this summer. All right, let's now turn to those IRS monthly stimulus checks and the incredible news about them, which is that they are not changed. They are not changed, and now they're in a better situation than ever before. The great news is that going into this week, we had over 1,000 Democratic House members and Senate members saying that they're including a monthly stimulus check. They said it before the passage of the $3.5 trillion recon last weekend. They said it after the passage of the $3.5 trillion recon. And those people that said it to you were the progressives on the Senate and the House side, who won this week not once, twice, but 3 times, blocking the vote once, twice, and then having the president say the vote ain't going to happen. The progressives include Nancy Pelosi making those assurances. Let's go over what's happened. 8 weeks ago, I said to viewers, pick up the phone and advocate to your senators for the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check, and WR did. He picked up the phone and advocated, called Chris Coons, Democrat, Delaware, advocating for the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check, and WR and Chris Coons' office said, yes, I'm putting it in there. 3 weeks ago, I told viewers about the importance of advocating. And at that time, this channel really started picking up, as you saw. I delivered a series of exclusives. For example, that the House was writing the legislation. Now true. That the vote would start on the House side. Now true. That the progressives were really the ones protecting your recon. Also true. And that Bernie Sanders was critical of the equation because he's the leader, he's the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, and the guy that got you the $3.5 trillion recon procedural over the finish line. Well, 3 weeks ago, Bernie Sanders said to the press, unlike prior budget chairmen, I like to get out amongst the people when doing a budget bill. If you listen to those words, he means wants to hear from you. He wants you to advocate. And what does the face of advocacy look like? It looks like this. It looks like picking up the phone, saying why I need it, why my family needs it, why my community needs it. And let's look at some screen grabs from the live chats of this channel and also private messages on social media. Margaret writing, honestly, the woman on my phone and I started crying when I explained everything I've been through. Another viewer writing the following, that I've lost my husband. I've had 10 surgeries during this pandemic, and raising my children on SSI and SSDI is not enough. And there you go. That is what Brother Joshua did, Glenn and Margaret did, advocating for Bernie Sanders 3 weeks ago. And Brother Joshua, a 2020 volunteer to the community page who got viewers thousands of dollars, Purple Hawk and viewer of this channel, picked up the phone and advocated. And Sanders' office saying, yes, I'm including a monthly stimulus check provision, $1,000 to $1,400, 3 to 6 months. But I need to hear your support. And that's when the floodgates opened. Viewer after viewer, like Donnie, you met his wife early in this video, Donnie picking up the phone and advocating for the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check. Let's see what Donnie wrote after his conversation with Sanders' office. Donnie writes, I called Sanders and his secretary said they are doing a forced stimulus check. And this is what I need. My city needs it. I need it to progress. I need it for my water and everything I told her. Viewer after viewer continued to report the same details as well. Here is what Hurricane Tina wrote. I called Sanders' office. They said they're doing a forced stimulus check in there. Carolyn wrote, I called Sanders' office, and Bernie is putting a forced stimulus check in there. I told them we're losing our homes and we're losing what we got. Yaya called Ron Wyden's office, and Ron Wyden saying, yes, he wants to put SS200 in there. Viewer after viewer kept on picking up the phone. But then we learned the importance of calling multiple offices, and that's what Will did. He called Sanders, Schumer, and also Liz Warren. And Liz Warren's office specifically said she wants to do it $1,400 to $2,000, 6 to 12 months. There you go. At that point, we had dozens of viewers getting the same comment from the senators, including Senator Casey's office, telling Lorica, they said yes, they're currently in negotiations for those monthly stimulus checks. Over 1,000 viewers this channel had at that point received the same message from the senators. 1,000 viewers being told by Coon, Sanders, Warren, Schumer, Casey, Wyden that a stimulus check provision would be added in there. But I said pick up the phone and advocate to the House side, AOC, Jalapal, and Omar. And that's what viewers started to do, like Janice advocating to Jalapal, who said they're doing a forced stimulus check in there. Paul advocating to AOC, who said she's doing it in there. And the messages kept on coming in as Mark calling Pelosi's office, advocating. And Pelosi's office, Mark writing that there would be a forced stimulus check in there, $1,000 a month after the first month of $2,000, and that they're near finish on negotiating it. That is the true face of advocacy, and that's what advocacy gets you. And the great news was that while some of those 1,000+ messages that viewers got were before the passage of the recon, some were after as well. This week, Sanders' office telling one viewer, IRS stimulus check is still going in there. Chuck Schumer, majority leader of the Senate, confirming to Donnie's wife the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check. AOC, Omar, and Jalapal confirming the same as well. Now, here's what you need to know, is that as soon as Pelosi passed that $3.5 trillion recon in that subcommittee of the House a week ago, she wanted to make clear to the American people, and did, in a statement as the president that night, that the recon at that time was not a bill, that the recon is a work in progress. And if you want to add stuff in there, you can. Sort of like my prop, where I say it's sort of like an envelope. It's sort of like an envelope with the words on it, bill. If you want to add stuff in there, you can. And that is what Pelosi's office, in fact, told viewers of this channel. She's added in there. Two ways to add it in there, on the House side, on the Senate side. On the House side, you add it in there by a change to that recon. That's what Jalapal, Omar, Pelosi, and AOC's office all told viewers of this channel. On the Senate side, senators like Warren, Schumer, Casey, Coons all say they're going to add it on the Senate side as well. And there you go. Let's turn over to the third stimulus for just a blink of an eye. This is very exciting. As additional $13 billion land your cities, counties, and states for rent utilities. Wow. Get a pen, paper ready. We can go over all these big sums of money right now, and that cell phone. The great news is that the money for rent has gone up 200%, utilities 300%, and money for SNAP 400%, meaning the viewers have gotten double to 400% more money in the last 30 days than before. Let's look at the numbers. A month ago, viewers were getting $20,000 to $30,000 for rent. Now they're getting $30,000 to $40,000 for rent, like Jen. A month ago, people like Mark were getting $6,000. Now Mark's brother-in-law getting 3 times that amount at $15,000. A month ago, people like Nancy were getting $5,000. Now Mark's brother-in-law getting $21,000. Get that pen, paper ready. I'm going to go over all these details and even how to get a refrigerator. Yeah, I got that ready for you as well. Get that pen, paper, and cell phone ready. I'm going to show you 6 places to reach out to get this money. Each place has different eligibility. Each place has different pot of money. So keep on pushing. If one says no, reach out to the next. Listen to the keywords I say in this video, and then get ready for the nonprofits. Here are the 6 places to reach out to. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall, and State House Authority. And keywords are going to use are rent assistance because of COVID. Now, I want you to rely upon the newsletter if you're a member. Hopefully you are. The link is under the video. As a member, I have sent out daily the newsletter, now upgraded, that includes the Treasury statement about the $13 billion. I want you to know what it is so you can call up, ask about it if they say they don't have any money, because guess what? They will. They absolutely will. Ask to be on a waiting list. Ask to be able to call back the next day. Every red, blue, rich, and poor state is getting it. Here are the 6 places to reach out to. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall, and State House Authority. Next, the nonprofits. It's important to understand that when you combine the third stimulus with the nonprofits together, there is rent everywhere. There's utilities everywhere because the nonprofits have different eligibility, and there's 5 of them. Here are the nonprofits: United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charity, St. Vincent de Paul. The nonprofits do all the big money under third stimulus I just went over, and they also do other things like clothing for people, homelessness into shelters, and sometimes small appliances. 2 viewers are getting refrigerators from this channel. Another got a furnace and her window fixed. And the big success story has been the quick turnaround time. St. Vincent de Paul paying 1 viewer rent within 24-hour turnaround time. The same success story for United Way. Here are the 5 nonprofits again: United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charity, St. Vincent de Paul. Next, unemployment benefits coming back. It is. First, the refund check from your state due to overpayment. It's landing anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. Reach out to state for tracking. That was the check due to overpayment and computer error. And then the refund check from IRS for that 2020 you pay taxes on for unemployment benefits. Average payment is $1,200 to $2,000. Also get SNAP. Oh boy. SNAP is going up an average of 25% lifetime automatically in this month of October. You get SNAP from Department of Agriculture. It's money for food. Everyone's benefits are going up. There's 2 letters. The first letter says your benefits are going down in September. Then there's an October letter that says your benefits are going up lifetime automatically in October. Finally, if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member so that you get the newsletter and you learn about all the big money you can get from this channel. Daily at about 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday, I sent out the LALATE newsletter written by me that features all the big money under first, second, and third stimulus for you to get, and everything proposed under fourth and fifth stimulus. This is huge. That's why Johnny got $80,000 for this channel. Lorraine got $105,000 and has now gone back and got more money. She's heading to $110,000. Mark, $51,000. His 2 friends, neighbors, and relatives getting $50,000 and another $50,000. Johnny's 2 family members, $100,000. Jen, $40,000. This big money is there for you to get. I want you to make a promise to yourself for 2 items. Number 1. It's important to get the rent and utilities as far into the future as possible, into 2022 as far as you can, that you're eligible. Lean on all the different resources I just showed you, because a lot of this money may not be repeated under fourth stimulus. Number 2, I want you to use as much of the nonprofits as you can. So the extent that you got money from one source, lean on the nonprofits if you're eligible. Get as much money as you can. Finally, seats for stimulus. People have asked me to bring back seats for stimulus, and I am. This coming week, seats for stimulus will be back on. But we have to modify it a little bit because seats for stimulus is a big issue. And guess what's around the corner? The big question mark. Those 6 approximate House seats up for re-election in just less than a month from now. It's a big issue. Could those 6 seats go one direction or another direction? And what direction should they go? Our advocacy is going to take a new level next week. I hope you're excited for it as well as I am, because the progressives had a big win for you this weekend. Protecting your recon once, twice, and 3 times. Blocking the votes on the roads and bridges the first time, the second time. And getting the president to say no vote ever on the roads and bridges until you agree upon the recon. Wow. What's important to understand is that all this coming week, I expect a lot of major turning twists across the board. What's important to understand is that when the president speaks about what he wants to do with the recon, those are his recommendations. Those are not an order. Those are guidances. And it's important to listen to the verb tense. It's important to listen to the adverb and the adjective. Don't remove adverbs or adjectives from the sentence, because then the sentence has a totally different meaning about it. In the case, for example, of the roads and bridges not going for a vote, he emphatically says not going for a vote. It will not go for a vote. And he emphatically said you were not going to get it passed because the progressives were not going to support it. So remember to stay on point. There's a lot coming up, and the news cycle's changing by the hour, on the hour. Get ready to get back onto advocacy next week, because we will as well. And with that, coming up next is Overnight's Crypto, and then Evenings LA, which will be a new show tonight as well. I'm excited for you to join me and stay with me all weekend long, because there's going to be a lot of major developing details. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Stay informed, stay focused, have a beautiful day, and stay with LA for more.